Common Sense America with Eden Cornell. Yeah.
And good morning, America. This is Eden Hill. This is Common Sense America. I am so glad to be here with you this morning. It's Friday, December the 16th, and we are going to be doing another pre-record this second half of the show, talking with, again, Jack Maxey, who uncovered all the Hunter Biden laptop pieces, the contents, and 80,000 more that have just come out. And so we'll be bringing the second part of that interview to you mid-show. But I wanted just to share with you this Friday, December the 16th. You know, God has impressed upon me to rest, refresh, and renew. And I am needing that more than ever. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with being humbled and being honest about where we are in our journey. I do believe firmly that the Christmas season is a time of celebration of Christ's birth and also in preparation for second coming, but also it's a time to reflect on the year. It's a time to rest the body, the spirit, the mind. It's also a time to renew and prepare that new vision for 2023. And so I wanted just to share with you my thoughts this morning in regards to that. You know, this show has been going on for 4 months here at Common Sense America. From 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. every morning, I bring you a live podcast, and I'm so grateful to the friends, the supporters, my contacts in DC, New York, also here in Eastern North Carolina, who have surrounded my husband and I with the support, the encouragement, the faith, the godly words of inspiration to carry this show. And I'm looking forward to 2023 with each and every one of you as we head into a new season, as we head into a new year. And so in the next 2 weeks, I will be doing pre-records. In the next 2 weeks, I will be celebrating the Christmas holiday with my family. In the next 2 weeks, I will be resting. I will be renewing. I will be refreshing this spirit, this soul, and this mind, and this body as well. And so I look forward to bringing you a lot of new guest features, some returning guests who I know you absolutely love, and guests who have shared with me that they would love to come back to Common Sense America. So we're going to be doing a lot of that. But in the next 2 weeks, I just wanted to let you know that you are welcome to go to Common Sense America with Eden Hill on YouTube, on Rumble. Go also to edengordonmedia.com. Right there is below on the lower half of the screen, where you can go and check out all of my previous podcasts, those live interviews with phenomenal guests from all over this precious nation of ours. So I wanted just to share that with you. As the next 2 weeks, I will be taking that time to do pre-records, taking that time to rest, spend time with family. And then come New Year, we will be back here live every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time here at Common Sense America. So I also wanted to share with you a devotional I read this morning, because in the past couple days, I'm going to be honest with my audience, I've been run down. I'm not feeling very well. I think I've just been overdoing it, but you know what? I'm just being cautious and just resting and drinking a lot of fluids, trying not to drink too much coffee, and just resting my spirit and my body. But I'll tell you something. I had this amazing devotion come across my desk this morning, and it's FOMO. For you guys that don't know what that means, it means fear of missing out. And you know, this week I missed my godson's Christmas concerts. I'm going to miss a Christmas party tonight, and I missed a couple Christmas events in New York and Washington this week and last week. But I sat back and thought, I'm like, I've had such amazing opportunities to engage these precious people who have been on my show, who have spoken about all of these tremendous organizations, tremendous events to raise awareness for these organizations, and tremendous individuals who believe in certain aspects of our country, whether it's fighting for our veterans or fighting for our energy policy, fighting for independent energy policy, or like we had yesterday, or if it's, a disabled, abled American who comes to us and talks about raising awareness for our abled Americans, or whether it's our active duty military spouses who kicked off this show earlier in the fall. But I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who have come alongside of us to make this show a success. And for all the naysayers out there, all right, I don't really care, what people think, other than if they get anything from this show, is that I love Jesus and I love this country and I love family and I love bringing our kitchen table discussions to the table, because that's in fact what is the very foundation and the very fiber of this America and of the family, whether it's a nuclear family or not. The bottom line is faith, God, and family are just top tier here at Common Sense. So I'm just grateful for all of those who've come alongside of the show. American Humane Special Operations Association of America, the Mozart Group, the Paratus Group, Fighting Human Trafficking, Jack Maxey, who will be doing the second half of this show, talking about the Hunter Biden laptop and what's to come. Project 21, the National Center, Money Talk with Melanie, Barbara from Harlem, and BB Reed. Also, Holly Dunn, Michelle Rigby Assad, all powerful authors, Jeff Gottsfeld. Also, let's see, who else have we had? The Bowery Mission, the Emmaus Center, the Futures in Education. The list just continues. The Susan B. Anthony list, Pro-Life America, North Carolina Right to Life, so many, Faith and Freedom Coalition. I mean, the list continues to go on. So on this Friday, December the 16th, I am just wanting to bring that appreciation and thanks to each and every one of you. Also to all the veteran service organizations who have been on the show, the Blue Angel Foundation, Everett Alvarez, who is one of the POWs from Vietnam who joined the show, Dr. Jennifer London, and also to all of the authors, including Marcy Friesner and his child. I'm just grateful for your comments, your commentary that you bring to the show. We seek to bring truth. And this show was birthed out of my run for state house. It was birthed out of the fact that, Republicans and Democrats together tell a lot of lies. And where do we see the truth in any of that? And this show is about finding that truth, knowing that in and around our nation's backyard and our Eastern North Carolina backyard, to the halls of Congress, to the White House, there isn't much truth out there left. And so we are seeking truth. We are seeking to bring the truth to each and every one of you here at Common Sense America every day. So save the date. We will be back for the new year. We will be, and in between then, we're going to be doing pre-records, like I mentioned, but also save the date as we head into New Year. I'm also going to be probably doing some social media posting in the next week or so, just to highlight the Advent season, highlighting the birth of Christ, highlighting the Hanukkah season as well. I have many friends who observe Hanukkah. So I will be posting a couple minute posts on social media, on YouTube, on Rumble, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Twitter, where you can go and you can check in and see what's going on here at Common Sense America. But with that said, I'm just grateful for each and every one of you and setting a new vision for 2023. There's nothing more powerful than having that faith, that walk, that journey with Christ, and applying that to your daily life. Everything else falls into place. Everything else falls into place. He gives us new visions. His Spirit gives us new visions. His Spirit gives us the rest that we need. His Spirit gives us a renewed sense of what is ahead. I'm excited for 2023. I'm excited for the opportunities at hand. I'm excited for the show. I'm excited for new guests and new faces. I'm excited for where the networks ahead that are watching this show. I'm excited for everything that we have in store. We have a hope and a future, and it's literally at our doorstep. It's a matter of what we're going to do with it. It makes all the difference in the world. So on that note, I am going to, let's see, it's about 10 after 9, and I'm going to go ahead and air the clip with Jack Maxey. It is about 35 minutes long. And like I said, thanks to Maria, a dear friend of mine in Jersey, one of my Jersey girls who I absolutely adore and love. She introduced Jack to me a while back, and Jack is a wealth of information. And I will tell you, airing the first episode on Wednesday, my Rumble account went crazy, more so than YouTube. Yeah. And I've been getting a lot of comments about that interview. And so this is the second part of it. And like I said, listener discretion advised because of some of the contents that he had found on the Biden laptop that um, are human trafficking, sex slavery, child protective services, and the lack thereof of the FBI involvement or the state of Delaware Child Protective Services to bring any of it to the forefront. And so this part of it also goes into what we talked about on Wednesday. If you have not seen Wednesday's episode, like I said, it is on Rumble at Common Sense America with Eden Hill. It is on YouTube at Common Sense America with Eden Hill. You can also go to edengordonmedia.com and check out the interview that I posted on Wednesday. Everything is dated and everything is titled where you guys can just go in and click on whichever you want. But if you have any questions, if you are looking for additional content, additional information, do drop me a line. Send me a note. I would love to hear your thoughts and your comments. And I would absolutely love just your words of wisdom, your words of encouragement, but also if you have specific questions for Jack, if you have specific questions for the show, or if you also have specific questions or guest suggestions for New Year, please let us know that as well. Maria, thank you. Grateful for you, grateful to know you, grateful for your work, and also grateful for the introduction and now the friendship with Jack. So on that note, we're going to just take a quick break, and then we're going to go ahead and roll the second part with Jack Maxey. We will be right back. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Talking with you. This show is about God, family, and country, and it's about service. My grandfather's World War II service, my father-in-law's Marine Corps service, and my husband's service in Iraq. And I don't take it lightly what you and all of those who've gone before us and who are going before this next generation as service, whether it's, in Ukraine, or whether it's the 82nd, whether it's special operations. But as I just wanted to say that thank you for your service.
Well, I often say this. It was always a very moving thing for me to drive across that bridge into Washington, D.C., and you pass Arlington, you can see it,
Yes.
coming in out of the
Yeah.
right-hand side of your eyes and, out of your left-hand side on the way back, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't live over in that part of the city for very long, but that was the ride I had to take every day. And I always would get kind of a tear in my eye, right?
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
Stiffen your spine, tighten your seatbelt a little bit. And you think about it, these elected leaders and these bureaucrats who infect Washington, D.C., and represent us, the American people, to the rest of the world, drive by those white headstones every day
They do.
and betray their oaths.
Yes, they do.
I mean, to go back very quickly, second people I give it to is the Daily Mail. Third people I give it to is the Washington Post.
Yeah.
And I give it to Chuck Grassley and all those bravehearts on the minority at the Senate Judiciary Committee,
Yes.
July 8th of last year. This is before Afghanistan. Imagine what a different world we might live in if
Yes.
the Republican leadership decided to come out with Hunter Biden's laptop before the midterm elections.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I am a fan of Chuck Grassley. I am a fan of the great state of
I'm
Iowa.
a huge fan of Chuck Grassley. In fact, I've often said the one sad opportunity that's lost here. Imagine what a great American story it would be to have an 89-year-old corn farmer from Iowa be the person who saves America just because he's got, decent American values and spine. And the fact of the matter is, if he'd come out with, and remember, it wasn't just Grassley, it's Blackburn, it's Cruz, it's Graham, it's Sass, it's
all the big names, all the big senators.
Lee, Kennedy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if they'd come out and said, hey, we're looking into what we think is Hunter Biden's laptop, just did what Matt Gaetz did last spring.
Mm-hmm.
The world would be a different place.
Yes,
we
it
might
would.
not have had Afghanistan. There might be 13 Americans still alive. We might not have 200,000 or 300,000 Afghani refugees in the country who are adding to the child abuse problem, I might add, because of their predilections for pederasty. So cultural predilections, I might add.
Yes.
And what a different world it might have been. I mean,
I agree. From a lot of different standpoints. It would be a different world. Those 13 that we lost in Afghanistan were from here, from Eastern North Carolina, from Camp Lejeune, which is literally right here in our backyard. And, remembering that day, tough. It was tough.
It's actually one of the things that I burden myself with, because I feel sometimes like, should I have done more? What more could I have done? Because clearly, if they'd come out, Afghanistan would not have played out that way.
Right.
And the Democrats would have been on defense since July 9th of last year. All through, remember, I sat in Kay Graham's chair inside the Washington Post headquarters in their boardroom with Tom Hamburger on my left side, Peter Walston on my right, Hamburger's chief investigative reporter, good guy, I have respect for him. Walston I only met at that one time, but he's like the national editor. They've had this thing for, a year and a half. And so has the United States Senate, the Republicans in the United States Senate. They lost the Senate race this time.
Yes.
But imagine if all their candidates had been able to run on Hunter Biden's laptop the whole time.
Protection? Were they gag ordered? What do you think?
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the United States Senate. I think the 17th Amendment was probably the most disastrous thing that this country ever did, to turn the upper house into a popularity contest like the lower house. I mean, think about it. The Senate was supposed to be the location of sobriety. And yet the Senate now originates bills. I don't know how they're able to do that. And they're some of the most outrageous stuff that comes out of that building.
Yes.
And nobody seems to care. I mean, if you want to look at the problems of this country, the Constitution requires that the House create a budget that gets approved by the Senate and gets handed to the president. And that's how the Treasury disperses funds for America.
Mhm.
We have not had a budget in the United States of America for 12 years now.
Yes, that's correct.
And this means that the Congress and the Senate are not fulfilling their constitutional duty. And frankly, any president who signs it is not fulfilling his constitutional duty.
Well, let's talk about constitutional duty. I don't see anything coming from Biden. I don't see anything. I am trying to figure out what he is actually there. Is he just, a pawn for the Democrats? I mean, what is it? What is it that the Hunter Biden laptop evidence and the content could actually take down this U.S. sitting president who isn't a president? I've had people on the show calling him a dictator. He's a dictator in chief.
Joe Biden's going to go down, whether by hand of God or by a sword of justice, one way or the other. But the real problem here is not Hunter, it's not Joe. It's the intelligence agencies that created Hunter and Joe through indifference, through cooperation, collusion. I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe incompetence. If it's any of the above, they all deserve to lose their jobs. And we deserve as Americans to do a very strong look through to what the purpose of these agencies are. And then I think that, one thing that we have to remember, and I said it at the time, it's one of the reasons why I was so upset with the Dominion, nonsense.
Right.
And the recount nonsense. I actually now think that was almost like a diversionary tactic by U.S. intelligence to push us off the real scent, which was the collusion of the FBI, the CIA, and you want proof of it. Now everyone's talking about it. The letter by the 51 retired intelligence professionals on the 19th of October, 2 weeks before the election, declaring Hunter Biden's laptop in their best estimation. Notice they never take responsibility.
No, of course not.
Was Russian disinformation. Now, the people who signed that are Brennan, former director of the CIA, Clapper, former director of national intelligence, Hayden, director of CIA, NSA, and Panetta, head of CIA, right? And 46 others, 6 of whom were so secret we couldn't even see their names.
Right.
And at that point, it went into an absolute death spiral. You couldn't post the stories. You couldn't do anything. And it wasn't until I got it to the Daily Mail in March and they began publishing in April that there were any more stories on Hunter Biden's laptop. Now, you want election interference? There it is.
Right.
You tell me how, in response to a New York Post article on the afternoon of the 18th and the morning of the 17th, by 9 a.m. on the 19th, you can even get 51 people on the phone, let alone have a 5-page document crafted and everybody signing off on it. And as always, it appears in Politico first.
Of course it does.
And then, of course, it's in the Washington Post for the next morning's issue.
Right. Talk to me about this. I want to go back. I want to go back to the human trafficking piece again and the child protective services piece, because human trafficking is a billion-dollar industry in the United States and internationally. And we are looking at such a painful piece of sex slavery that is happening to our children. Just the other day, we saw the fashion industry using children as pawns in their sex schemes. But I want to go back to the first daughter, and I want to go back to the first granddaughter and ask you, in addition to what other content, what other images did you see? And separate from the FBI and separate from the intelligence agencies, who are people that stand out to you that came alongside of you as you were revealing these images and revealing this despicable content of abuse, of human trafficking, and of the first daughter and the first granddaughter?
Well, when the first stuff came out about the Ashley Biden diary that was first released by Patrick Cowley back in, I believe, September of 2020,
Mhm.
I will be straightforward with you. I did not read it. It was
Okay.
sent to me.
Yeah.
I didn't read it. I felt, okay, guys, look, girls in rehab. I'm not going to get
Right.
mixed up, right?
Right.
The first time I actually read the diary was I got a phone call from somebody at Project Veritas
Right.
in June of last year. And Project Veritas had been called by John Solomon. This is a funny
Mhm.
story. John Solomon gave him a tip in the middle of the night. Don't publish it. My guys at the FBI telling me some of the pages are fake. Well, now we know none of it's fake. It's all real.
Right.
10 days later, they get raided by his buddies at the FBI. And they call me up thinking like, hey, maybe Maxey, who knows the laptop so well, can go through this and give us an answer. I'm not saying it was the top dog there, but it was,
Sure.
one of the 3 or 4 leading that thing. And I read it. Much of it seemed to conspire with what Hunter describes. Particularly, both of them describe Joe Biden as literally almost the coldest person, like the Ice Queen
Oh,
from
really?
Narnia, just without love, without care, without anything. Just this is why Ashley says she takes showers with her dad because she's so starved for human affection.
Hence why she's in
And
rehab.
right, so Hunter and uh, both Ashley and Hunter describe things very similarly. So I had no reason not to believe it, right? And what was ironic when I quit War Room, the guy who called me up out of the blue also was John Solomon to tell me, "Hey, Jack, I respect you as a journalist. Just want you to know this has nothing to do with China. My guys inside the FBI tell me it's all about Ukraine. You should concentrate on everything on Ukraine." Really? Didn't the FBI not even admit to having Hunter's laptop when Solomon gave me that call in February 21? And I find it interesting that Solomon's on both those
Right.
misdirections. Now, maybe he doesn't know. Maybe it's just, his guys at the FBI misdirecting him. That's a bit frightening.
It
It
is.
lets
It
you
is.
know how penetrated this whole thing is and how concerted their effort has been to suppress it from day one. And when I say concerted, they had to be concerted. Again, how do you get 51 guys to sign anything?
Right.
I mean, yeah, you could go into your office tomorrow and try to get 20 people to sign something, and you're like, 4 are out, I'm sick. What's going on here?
Right.
Get this
Right.
done to the end of the week.
Yeah.
And these disparate retired guys, this is because the fix was in. And I think Joe Biden had to become president because at the end of the day, Joe Biden was a participant in a lot of the frauds that had gone on.
Mhm.
And he wasn't going to throw anybody under the wheels, right? He wasn't going to have an investigation into the FBI. He wasn't going to clean up the Department of Justice or
Right.
make sure we couldn't money launder out of Ukraine anymore. That was never going to happen because
Mhm.
he profited from all of that.
I um I know that you did some interviews in the past couple days with some Fox News anchors. Talk to me about what you see ahead
Ooh,
as
let me make a quick correction because that
Okay.
interview that you saw,
Okay.
and I was very, very kind of them to use me to close out that special they did on called
Sure.
Biden Inc.
Yes.
And I
Mhm.
really recommend anybody watch it because it's a blueprint of the grift that's gone
Mhm.
on. And that actually was an interview that Fox News did with me last March in Switzerland. Tucker and the crew came
Yeah.
over and we did a series of interviews. And I think, maybe they were so fantastic at the time that they're making more and more sense as time goes on.
Mhm.
Uh, but What do I think goes forward? I think that it was very positive that the House described Gilar. That's a
Mhm,
shot across U.S. intel, British intel. They described Jackie Bow as a spy. That's a shot across the bow of the CCP
mhm,
and the Biden family. They describe Pruitt, the Clinton banker, as somebody that they want to talk to.
mhm,
Pulling at any of these threads will be massive. And
mhm.
also remember, they also want to put the 51 signatories of that letter under oath and ask them. I mean, the first order of business, I think, needs to be to remove the security clearances from all those people, because let's remember, they're all still profiting from those security
Yes,
clearances.
they are. Yes, they
Brennan's making a couple $1 million a year as the trusted national security advisor for CNN. Let's blow all that up for those people.
Mhm.
Maybe we don't put all these people in jail, but we can certainly publicly shame them. We can certainly remove them from the public square. We could certainly,
Yes,
go to
they
the
need.
back of the line when we bump into them at the hardware store,
Mhm.
right?
Yes,
And,
they all need to be removed from the public square,
and
100%.
remember, espionage is a very hard charge to prove because number one, it requires that you had access to national security material that, usually you got to have security clearance. Hunter has none of that. But what we could put Hunter and many of his friends and the corrupted actors who benefited from Joe Biden and bad behavior by Harry Reid and
Right,
others for decades
right.
is we can put them in jail on the money laundering. We can put Hunter in jail on the human trafficking. We can put Hunter in jail for all of the drug use.
Mhm,
And to me, that's enough.
mhm,
And because we'll expose in the process. I think it's very important that all your listeners demand of the House that all these hearings be in public.
mhm,
Absolutely no possible way they can accept an independent counsel for any of this stuff.
mhm.
Because look at, we're still waiting for the independent counsel stuff. And, Trump's presidency is already over.
Yeah,
We're
correct.
waiting to find out what happened. These are cover ups. And they're unconstitutional, in my opinion, because the Constitution is very clear that oversight is the part of Congress and the Senate.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
It's not
is.
some guy we choose at the men's grill at National Country Club and decide he's going to figure it out for the rest of us.
Yes, agreed, agreed. What can we expect in 2023 as we head into 2024? Do you think, from the presidential standpoint, you think Biden's going to run again? Do you think there'll be enough content from what has been released now and what is all over Twitter and what Elon Musk is doing? Do you think it's going to be enough to stop them dead in their tracks from him running again?
Well, I think it's going to take a lot of courage on the part of a lot of people. There are many people now coming forward. One of my confidentials is now testifying before the House and Senate. This is much deeper than anything that the average American is aware of.
Yeah, it
The
is.
corruption is off the charts. And you have to remember, obviously, your listeners are people of faith. I constantly remind people that the Son of God was betrayed for less than $300 in today's money.
Yes, he was.
So when you start throwing 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 million, billions of dollars at people, sorry, I have a bit of a cold.
It's
They
okay.
will betray anybody, right?
Yeah.
And we have to. I, obviously a man of faith, but I also look at the Bible. Long before I had faith, I read the Bible as
Mhm.
literature.
Oh,
And when you look at it, actually, I now call it the best handbook for human psychology ever created. You can almost predict people's behavior just by going back and looking at those parables.
yes.
And greed is at the core of
Yes, it
so
is.
much of what is the problem with the world today and has always been the problem with the
Mhm.
world. And I would really like to see this next year be a cathartic moment for all of us because we're not going to just find out that the Democrats are crooked. We're going to find out that the Republicans are crooked too.
Mhm.
We're going to, I mean, let's look at Louis
I agree
Freeh,
with you. I
good
agree with
Republican, Mueller, good Republican, Comey, good Republican, Strzok, good Republican, right?
you.
And I think need to lean into each other and start realizing what a great country this is,
Yes.
and that Washington D.C. doesn't represent us. It's almost like an anomaly,
Yes.
right? It's
Agree.
like driving through farm country and seeing a tennis club in the middle of a cornfield. It's just a joke.
Yeah. It is.
And we can take it back. We have a constitution. All of this can be solved with the constitution if we
Mhm.
just demand that people fulfill their responsibilities under it, including us.
Yes.
Remember, the 10th Amendment ultimately gives the power to us.
Yes. We the
Those
people.
things not enumerated in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights go to the states and ultimately to individual Americans.
Yes.
So it's up to us to take it back.
Now, do you think with that statement, and I agree 110%, but do you think it being up to us, do the American people at this point, are they just so fed up with what's going on in Washington, with the elected leaders, with the corruption of the election integrity aspects, with saying, hey, I put that Republican in there and I thought they were a Republican, but they actually vote Democrat. Do you think it does come back to us? But do you think the American people actually want to do something now? Or are they just throwing their hands up? Because I'll tell you what, being here in Eastern North Carolina, I look around, it's retirees, it's military retirees, it's veterans, it is active duty. And I think, my parents' generation, they're just, what do we do now? Do we do anything at this point?
You know what we do? We look back on our broad sweep of American history and we realize that we've been in tough spots before,
Mhm.
and we always rally and we always come back. But when it comes to solving this problem, we've got to start speaking truthfully
Mhm.
about everything. And I'm talking about what goes on inside our intel agencies, our foreign policy, our alliances, our fiscal policies. The whole 9 yards has to be on the line because we've lost our way. America has lost its way. We've spent $8 trillion in the sands of Arabia over the last 25 years
Yeah.
and achieved nothing
Exactly.
but half of our national debt or a third of our national debt. And these costs are going on. We're creating chaos around the world. And every time something goes wrong, from Afghanistan to Iraq to wherever, all of us, and this should encourage us to take responsibility. It's all being done in our names.
Mhm.
That's the Americans who killed, Uncle Muhammad. And when things really go wrong, it's our children that need to go bleed and die for these efforts.
Right.
And so we need to start taking responsibility for what our government is doing in our name, not just here in the United States, but also around the world.
Yes.
And I think it's very telling that the Biden administration went and released this female basketball player, but left the U.S. Marine
Yes.
behind.
What does that say? What does that say?
Well, it tells you what their priorities are. And also, let's remember, this woman was one of the first people to demand that they not play the national anthem, that they kneel and hold their fist in the air when they played it. Uh, she was anti everything to do with us, and we reward her over the others. Now, I understand they were given kind of a tough choice, the Marine or her, maybe ladies first, but it needs to be explained.
Yeah, and
Right
it's
now,
not.
I think everybody's in a state of confusion concerning the priorities. And, it also shows you what a joke negotiating position we have with the Russians
Right,
concerning anything,
right.
right? They're dictating terms to us about how they're going to release, a basketball player for smoking dope.
Yeah, yeah,
It doesn't exactly seem to me that Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden are driving the conversation in Moscow. It's
no,
the opposite.
yeah. Let me ask you on a final note, And I know I've taken up an hour of your precious time, and I'm so grateful to be able to talk with you on so many powerful issues that are impacting our culture, our family, our faith, and our society. When you first were given the content, you were first able to visibly see the Hunter Biden contents out of everything, 80,000 plus more documents. What was the one thing that really just struck you to the core at a personal level more than anything?
The most terrifying thing to me was the allegations of child abuse. Uh, that has been like a dark cloud. I can tell you when I went to Switzerland and I had a professional guy over there helping me, and we recovered a whole nother side on the dark side of this disk. There's 80,000 new images, 150,000 new emails, mirror images of the entire Biden family's phones. I've not gone through this. I've given it to law enforcement. Should be in the hands of the Senate and the House this week, I'm hoping.
Okay.
But for example, the first images we looked in, these were the images he erased because the images he didn't erase were horrifying enough. Were dozen or 2 dozen pictures of young girls fully clothed, doing highly sexualized things to each other through their clothing. And these were all young girls in Fair Isle sweaters, like 12, 13-year-olds. Looked to me like it was his niece's schoolmates. But how do they end up on Hunter's computer?
Right.
And they were downloaded or they were erased. So he can't pretend he didn't desire to have them.
Right.
And at that point, I told my programmer, we can't look at anything else. But I can say, I don't know if you guys remember this summer, they released a iPad and a mirror of one of Hunter's phones on 4chan. It all got taken down. It was my programmer from Switzerland who did that, right?
Okay.
And he did that in part because he's very frustrated. He started to even think I was protecting child abusers because he couldn't understand how the authorities wouldn't move on this stuff instantly. And we found even more disturbing text messages concerning these same allegations between Hunter and the young girl, which implied some really bad things went down.
Mhm.
And this was very spiritually troubling for my programmer. It was
I bet.
spiritually troubling for me. It's
Yeah.
because you have to ask yourself the question, you say, what kind of country are we
Right.
when federal law enforcement does not come to the aid and rescue of a young girl for any reason,
Mhm.
right?
So,
Yeah.
in that sense, do we even then depend on the government? And as we know and we hear of things happening right in our backyard, who do we turn to? Is it us that need to take it into our own hands?
Well, you know who you turn to? You turn to your local sheriffs, and this should be something that should make people happy. Out of a desperation, I made a plea to the sheriffs of America that I've got all this information and they can prosecute all these people on the local level.
Mhm.
So I was contacted by the Constitutional Sheriffs Group, about 150 members, all the names you would recognize.
Mhm.
I sat down with one of them. I haven't revealed who yet,
Sure.
but I sat down with a computer forensics specialist from a state Bureau of Investigation, a child protection specialist from a state Bureau of Investigation. Uh, they have everything, and they've had it since July 22nd. And it's a sanctimonious kind of state, so they may be taking their time.
Mhm. When you said what your programmer was going through in Switzerland and what you were going through at a personal level, can I dare ask, was anybody murdered?
No, no one was murdered, but for example, there's a very odd set of text messages between Hunter and his sister-in-law. Maureen Dowd writes an article, I believe it's the 24th of February or January of 2019. And the article essentially is called, Joe Biden's troubled son.
Uh-huh.
And it's all about how if Joe doesn't run, and it's going to be because of questions concerning Hunter's businesses, Hunter's relationships, etc. Note this is the last time the New York Times has asked any of these questions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Hunter goes absolutely bananas. It's kind of apparent that he must have been up all night smoking crack or something, because he contacts his sister-in-law early the next morning, contacts everybody he knows. Did you read it? Can you believe this? I mean, I'm ruined. I'm ruined. And he contacts his sister-in-law, and she's getting the children ready for church. And she says, listen, I haven't read it. It's 8 in the morning. What do you want from me? And he says, read it, read it. So she reads it. He calls her back, texts her back. What'd you think? What'd you think? And she said, I don't know, Hunter. You do have very strange business practices. And then he responds to her, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is essentially it. He goes, oh, so you're just like all the rest. You're just like those people who think I had those, you know, children killed or girls killed in Beijing. And just like those people who think I was there when they murdered all those children in Donetsk, and crazy stuff. I'm not saying this is true. This may just be the ranting of a delusional drug addict, but he puts it in writing. I mean,
Oh, I mean, what did you initially think when you saw that in writing?
well, I know that China is a very bad place.
Yeah, it
And,
is.
you know, if you wanted to play Let's Set Children on Fire, there's a price you could do it for. And uh, he's a very debauched guy. I mean, I've spoken to Americans with intel backgrounds who spent a lot of time in China, and they said, you know, it's not necessarily hidden who your opposition is in some of these countries, right? And in China, it's the kind of place where they'll come in and be like, "Hey, Colonel Bing, state security, Shanghai, what's going on, Maxey?" And these guys would ask questions sometimes about, "Hey, do you know Hunter Biden?" And it wasn't like they were really digging for information. It was kind of like they wanted to see if they got confirmation that, yeah, he's this like total scumbag POS. I mean, these guys who routinely debauch people and compromise them on all sorts of unsavory levels, even they had the sense that Hunter was special in this regard, like beyond their normal.
Mm.
And so I think that we are in a very dangerous world. It's very fragile. It's not what we think it is. I
Yes.
don't believe. I would like to see a greater realignment inside our own hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
I think, imagine, for example, if we took one of the $1 trillion we spent on the Middle East in the last 25 years and spent it on Latin America, what a different
Country.
place it would be.
Yes. Yes. Well, on that note, I'm going to end it on that note. And I am honored to have Jack Maxey here at Common Sense America, talking about the Hunter Biden laptop, talking about human trafficking, and talking about what a better world we would be living in if Republicans and Democrats stood up, but not putting hope in government, but putting hope in one another and our faith, most importantly. So, Jack Maxey, I look forward to having you come back come the new year, come 2024. There's going to be a lot to talk about. So, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And I want people to be encouraged. We have such an amazing country. Just look around. We're not going to be taken down by a bunch of guys in silk ties. We're going to step up and take it back and put us right back on the track that our forefathers gave us. And God bless you all, and have a great Friday.
Thank you, sir. God bless you too.
Bye-bye.
And for all of those who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. I would love your thoughts. That was our second segment with Jack Maxey. We were talking a lot about the Ice Queen does liveth. We also talked about the drug issues that Hunter Biden continues to reveal. Also, in addition to that, just the deep dive into the human and sex trafficking that literally is happening in that family in the White House. And, you know, it really does make you want to take a step back and say, you know what? We cannot be dependent on our leaders. We cannot be dependent on the government. We cannot be dependent on that, because at the end of the day, they are evil. They are disillusioned. And it's just like Jack said, those silk ties do not need to be running our government. But on a lighter note, I do want to encourage each and every one of you as we head into this Christmas season. We are 9 days out until Christmas, December 25th. I just want to encourage you to, one, pray for this nation, fill your cup with Jesus, show the love of Christ to all those who are around you, whether it's your family, whether it is your community, whether it is somebody you see in line at the supermarket who has not seen a smile in a hot minute. That's where we need to be making the impact, and that's where the impact and that ripple effect really actually does happen. I wanted to also encourage you, think about your new vision for 2023, whether you are 18, about to graduate from high school, or whether you're 80 and just finished up a project and are headed into a new project. I'm inspired by the young generation and their excitement for life. I'm also inspired by the older generation that I get to surround myself with. It's wise to surround yourself with people who will lift you up, who are people of faith, who love Jesus and are not afraid to talk about it. I am excited to see what is ahead for Common Sense America. I'm excited to see what is ahead for the new year. And I look forward to having each and every one of you along with me for this powerful journey as we head into 2023. This will be our final segment for 2022. But I will be posting on social media different little 2-minute, 1-minute clips as we head into Christmas. And then I will also be doing many pre-records as we prepare for 2023 with powerful guests. We will be bringing back Jack Maxey. And thank you, Maria. I want to just post your comment yet again. I am grateful for your friendship, and I'm grateful for your introduction to Jack and what is ahead for our nation. We need to be praying for our nation's leaders. We need to be praying for our local leaders. We need to be praying for our states and everything that is ahead next year. And, as we were watching the news headlines, we're going to be talking 2A. We're going to be talking pro-life, the pro-life march happens every January with Right to Life. We're going to be talking about our marriages. We're going to be talking about the new Congress. We're going to be talking about our energy and the winter. We're going to be talking about 2024, because even as I listened to Megyn Kelly for a hot minute yesterday on her podcast on SiriusXM, and she mentioned, and she is correct, in just a couple months, we're going to be talking about the candidates for 2024. And so that's going to be happening sooner than I think we really realize. So we got to be ready. Pull up your bootstraps. Dust off those knees. We got a lot of work ahead of us. So at the end of this segment today, I just want to say, be strong, be courageous, put on the full armor of God, as the Bible says, but also Governor DeSantis says, hint, hint. Also, if you're looking for any final stocking stuffers for your family and friends who love to read, I will tell you that Governor DeSantis' new book is coming out in February. You can pre-order it. It is coming out in and around President's Day, hint, hint. And so just as a heads up for all of those who are from the great state of Florida, but also wish they could make America Florida, that is a great book to pick up and pre-order. Also, new books coming out for children by gov't, who's a friend and an amazing author for children. Follow him on Amazon, and also follow him at his website. It's jeffgottsfeld.com. Also, Matt Tavares, also a friend of the show, will have new books coming out for children in the new year as well. So just a lot of great things to look forward to for God, family, and country. We have a lot of great things ahead for 2023. But until then, I'm going to give you about 4 minutes left of this hour, and I'm grateful to all of the powerful family members, friends, women of faith, single parents, moms, dads, retirees, military families, veterans who have supported this show and the birth of it from September until now. I'm excited to carry this into the new year of 2023, and I'm excited to have each and every one of you with me. So until then, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and I will be seeing you on social media. And until then, I'll see you soon. Have a great holiday season.